Welcome to the shop. Today we're going to be making a forged clip point knife. If you haven't already, like and subscribe and follow me on Instagram at Oni Ironworks. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the design first and come up with a game plan. Let's get to it. Alright, so here is what I came up with. It's a pretty classic design as far as clip point knives are concerned. We're going to be shooting for about 10 inches of overall length with a 5-inch blade and about 1.5 inches of width. We're going to be giving it a gentle curve along the spine just to give it a little bit of flavor, and then some additional contouring around the pommel area. For the actual knife handle itself, I have a set of desert ironwood scales that I have been saving for a rainy day. I'm not sure if they're going to work out yet, but we'll go ahead and give it a shot and we'll see how it turns out. I'm going to start with this piece of 1084. It's a high carbon steel, easy to work with, and heat treat. I used this piece already to practice making sanmai, so it has a nice spot for the tongs to hold on to. I'm going to start by hot fitting the tongs to the steel, then work on breaking down the material closer to my final dimensions. Let's light up the forge and get to work. Alright, so we forged down about 1.5 inches in width. I'm going to start by forging the tip. That's typically just how I start. And then I'm going to be forging in a clip, and then we're going to move down and start working on the handle and keep setting up our preform, then move into the final shaping. See that the steel's getting a bit of a fish mouth there, so I'm going to go ahead and put that on the corner and shear that off, make a nice point to the end of the blade. now that we've got the tip forged out, we're going to go ahead and get in there and break down the material for the handle. We're going to come in about here and then isolate all this material out and stretch it down. That way we get a good area for the handle to start being formed, and then we'll go back and clean up the blade a little bit and get it back to that final shape. Alright, so here's where we're at. I've finished up the forging and I'm right about on target for our final dimensions. You just saw me normalize the steel for heat treating, and now I'll be moving on to grinding. I'm going to start by flattening the blade, then I'll work on refining the profile, specifically adding in those details around the pommel area. Finally, I'll roughen the bevels and the false edge on the clip point. Just got finished with the belt grinder, doing some profiling. I'm going to move over to the files and the die grinder to help clean up some of those lines and tidy up that profile. Alright, that's enough of that. So I have done some additional flattening and I really tuned in that profile. It's looking nice. I'm going to go back and hit it with some sandpaper, and then I'm going to grind in the bevels here as well as that clip point. And I'll be doing that on the belt grinder, and hopefully it'll come out awesome. Alright, so I got my bevels ground out. What you're seeing me do now is I'm setting the blade up for some hand sanding. I need to even out some of the thickness of the blade. It's a little bit thicker in this area right here. I'm obviously not going to show you too much of this because it's pretty straightforward. I'm going to rub it with a piece of sandpaper. Now just imagine that for about 3 hours, and just like that, we're done. So I have hand sanded it a bit, just gotten it flatter for the handle scales, and then I've also went in and ground in the clip and put that false edge in there. We're almost ready for heat treat. Couple small odds and ends I'm going to finish up here. I'm going to carve in the sharpening choil up by the ricasso, and then I'm also going to drill pinholes for the handle, and then we'll go into heat treat. Alright, just finished up with the heat treat. Got it up to non-magnetic, quenched it in Parks 50, and then set it in the tempering oven for about 3 hours at 350 degrees. Most of the next steps are going to be much of the same. I'm going to be cleaning up the handle again and then cleaning up the bevels. I'm going to be doing some hand sanding on the blade itself, as well as fitting up the handle material and putting the finishing touches on the handle area. After that, we'll be gluing it up and sharpening it, and we'll be done. knife came out awesome. I love the colors on the desert ironwood, and the blade came out beautifully. The last thing to do on it is sharpen the blade, but because I'm making a sheath for it, I've decided I'll do that afterwards. I hope you've enjoyed this project. If you haven't already though, like and subscribe, and follow me on Instagram for more upcoming projects. Until then, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.